Why is the jury laughing?
Zero chance of winning the game.
Supposed to talk glamour to you.
My grandmother's sitting home watching Jerry Springer.
Lee, is there any way I could have your jacket?
Welcome back to Survivor Breakfast. We're talking about Survivor 42, Episode 5 today. We got a pretty straightforward episode today that we're going to be going through. Excited to be talking about this stuff with you boys today. I'm your host, Sim, joined by our co-hosts, Toast and Kale, as always. Boys, let's hop right into it. Let's get into this first scene that we're thrown into for this episode. Is the Ika post-tribal kind of rollover from last week. Kale, I'm going to toss it to you. What are your thoughts here on what's going on with the tribe here?
Listen, I think the episode as a whole was a precursor to what should be some fireworks coming into merge, half merge, whatever the heck we want to call it next week. The entirety of the beginning and half of this episode tonight was setting the stage at each tribe, talking about, where the cracks lie, how it could unfold, who can go where. And we start with Ika here. Tori versus Roxroy. Roxroy's beside himself because he got blindsided, and they really didn't show this a lot last week. And again, we talk about the dominating duo here was Romeo and Drea, which we see throughout the entirety of this episode here. Tori's ready to jump ship. Your girl's ready to jump ship. And
that's predictable, right? I mean,
it's predictable.
Yeah. I mean, nobody has claimed that she wouldn't, obviously. That's probably in her best interest to do that,
Of course.
It's a new first impression for her because she really messed up the first impression. So.
No, that's fair. But the fun part about this is that I feel as though there's characters on every single one of these tribes that's ready to jump ship. We didn't have this last season. So, in what should be, really the hashtag coming away for me for this episode is just get me to the merge. Because I think we were pretty straightforward today. This Tori versus Roxroy, I think she's ready to rock and roll. Not pun intended.
Great pun, Kale. Great pun.
The pun is intended. Do not say pun not intended.
How long have you been thinking about that? 45
minutes? It really wasn't. But she's down to dip. And I honestly don't know if Roxroy is a great ally that Drea and, Romeo want to keep. I guess they will because he is still annoying. There's couple of quote-unquote annoying characters on all of these tribes, I guess. So I guess they'll hold on to him. But the dichotomy here between these two, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciated that Roxroy was like, yeah, my social game has not been great right now. He's just realizing it.
Backed up your sentiment that's you've been saying for weeks here.
But I don't hate Roxroy as an ally. Obviously he's pretty annoying to other people, which could be a danger, but he's pretty straightforward. Every time he says he's going to vote for somebody, he votes for them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's predictable. It's just that he's also stubborn. Mm-hmm. So It's like if his predictability is in the same direction as you want to go, then it's amazing.
Yeah, and wonderful.
But if it's not in the same direction, then you almost have just you've lost a number, because it seems like maybe coming back after tribal, he's starting to realize hey, I need to be able to conform a little bit here. I need to adapt. It seems like he has some self-awareness in this instance, right, where he's saying it out loud. I think it's too little, too late to some extent, but it still is nice for him to not be completely obstinate and be okay, I can learn, I can develop a little bit more. I mean. I'm picking at straws, right? I don't think Roxroy is some strategic mastermind or social player, but I'm just saying, it is at least good that he didn't come in, angry. He came in I need to improve,
Yes, yeah. I do think he stressed the quality that was necessary, in terms of that adaptability piece that we've talked about all season. But with that being said, we'll talk about it later briefly when we get to Shipwheel Island, I'm sorry. He's just ultimately not a great player. I just don't think he has the necessary qualities to him socially to, become one person talking to someone like Tori, become one person talking to someone like Drea, or be someone talking to Lydia. I think when we look at Taku and we see the whole debacle that was Jonathan versus Marianne, I think my biggest takeaway was that Omar again remained even keel through the entirety of the situation. Didn't seem like he was really too fond of them chatterboxing forever. But you have to remain even keel, and you just have to go with the ebbs and flows. If these girls are talking forever, you just got to sit back and take it. And Jonathan showed some cracks tonight.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's keep moving. We're gonna hop over onto. We're gonna be talking about the beware advantage now. We're gonna talk a little bit about what happened over at Ika with Drea finding an idol. We talk a little bit about Vati and Mike's plan, and then how that all kind of played out in the immunity challenge today. Beware advantage, as we know, you got to say your phrases. If all three people say the phrases, you get your immunity idol. If nobody says the phrases, or not all three people ever say the phrase, everybody gets an immunity idol who has it at the time of the merge, and they get their vote back. Which they don't have.
Is that clear? Is that what happens? Everybody definitely gets the idol?
Yeah, Mike kind of explained it in this episode where he was like, if I don't say my phrase ever, I just automatically get an immunity idol and no one will know that I have it.
There's a point to this confusion though, Kale, because it actually changed. If you can look it up. Actually, like the parchment itself reads differently than it did last year. Last year, it said that if you do not get it activated before the merge, the idol is dead. It's dead at the merge. Mm-hmm. This year, it becomes a fully realized idol, and you still have your vote. You get your vote back, right? Like, without having to say the phrase. So they've definitely tweaked it. I mean, if you look, you could see screenshots of both of the two next to each other, and last year's was a lot different. And what that really lends itself towards is the incentivizing that Mike is sort of thinking about, right? Like maybe I should just keep my mouth shut and get there. And I think he was really tempted to do that, but ultimately the thought of not having a vote and potentially going to tribal, you have to say it. And I do like how it's structured that way, that the decision to say it out loud is happening before, obviously, they compete in the challenge, right? Because there has to be some risk, right? If Mike knows that his tribe is definitely going to win immunity, there's no reason to say it. You can hold it in. Probably next episode, you get your idol, you get your vote back. Nobody knows you have it, right? But obviously, you say it beforehand because you're worried. And in this case, Mike, probably should have been worried because we know the outcome, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting to me. This is actually what I wanted to get into with this is, to me, I think this change makes the beware advantage a lot more interesting because it adds a layer of gameplay where, if Mike felt like he was in a spot where he could continue to not have his vote until the merge, what an advantage that is for your alliance in that merge. Like, you have this immunity idol and nobody knows that you have it, and you know exactly who has it on the other tribes. Like, that's sick. That's so
all right. Well,
incredible.
This is where I was saying we're already wrong here. His entire tribe knows he has this piece.
Yeah, but
five people.
If he thinks that they're going to stay in an alliance together, then that's
but
great.
That never happens.
I think the other interesting thing, though, too, Kale, is that you're going one more week where you're forcing these other tribes. If you think that you're safe, you're potentially putting people in other tribes in dangerous positions because they still don't have their votes. And I think that adds another layer to an interesting reason why you might not say your phrase.
I hate this fucking thing. I absolutely hate this fucking thing. It's so terrible. It really is, because Mike still had to lose his vote when he's doing this all. So he doesn't feel comfortable. So when he's not feeling comfortable, he has to confide in everybody, it seemed like. Out of nowhere, everybody knew about it. I mean, I guess because he already went to Jenny, who went home. So then he went to Daniel, and he can't trust Daniel anymore. Then he wanted to get in the good graces
also
of Hai.
Chanel said it out loud, which is what I put out last episode. And Kale, you were saying, "Oh, just collateral damage. It doesn't matter," but it does matter because now everybody on his tribe knows about it.
I'm not saying. I'm saying that Chanel had to do it. I mean, it didn't.
She did not have to do it.
Let's be clear. She didn't.
She did not have to do that.
She felt like, first of all, it ended up being in her favor. Daniel's home. She's not.
Yeah, but she could have done it in private. We talked about it last week.
Yeah,
yeah.
Whatever.
She didn't need to do it in front of everybody. Continue.
Either way,
sorry to
the beware advantage is trash. It really is, because everybody comes out of this. You'd have to be straight up dumb not to realize that these phrases are all being said. As it stands right now, hold on. As it stands right now, people that know that about the idols everybody on Vati, so 4 people, Romeo, Drea, Omar, Marianne. So 8 out of the 12 people.
Their whole tribe knows too.
Who?
Doesn't all of Taku know about
Yeah,
this?
I
They
think
went
all
on
of
a they went on a
I think all of
group
Taku
idol
knows.
hunt.
Talks
went on a
talks about the point more.
Yeah,
Talks about
Marianne
the point
told
more.
everybody about it immediately.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I get what
All
you're
the
saying.
items were rendered useless last season. When everybody knows about it, there's no secrecy, and it ruins a big piece of this game.
So I want to dissect everything. Kale, I think you're talking about how it's functioning right now in reality, what we're seeing. Simi, you're talking about like ideally how could this be used in a different season if maybe this weren't the case.
Absolutely.
First point to what you were saying, I was originally thinking I would push back against the thought that you would go out of your way to incur risk on yourself to make it so that 2 other people on separate tribes may be in a worse position, right? Which is what you're saying. Like it may be a strategy to withhold your line so that 2 people on the other 2 tribes still don't have their vote, right? Because that's almost like way too aggressive because you can't dictate what's happening on that side.
And you can't even dictate who, is in danger at that
Correct. You don't have any understanding, nor do you, basically you don't know what's going on. But it is interesting to think that you could do it in a way where it targets specific people who do have this potential to get idols, right? Because the people that would be, punished in this instance that you're saying. So basically what I'm saying is I was originally going to push back, but I actually think that it's a pretty good point because if you're withholding of information, right, affects specific people who have the potential to gain a lot of power, right? And it may actually lend towards their detriment, then it actually is something worth considering. Like I don't think that that's a bad thought, right? Because if you keep someone from having an idol and from having a vote, they're less likely to get to the merge, right? They're just they have a burden.
Them and their alliance at their tribe.
I think you guys are ignoring the bigger picture here. It's just a dumb thing in general now.
But
dude,
regardless
we understand.
of how you're using it, Mike has a target on his back now because everybody on his tribe going into the merge knows about it. And yes, if they all stay together, that's all fine and dandy. But that never happens. Never ever happens.
Okay, but here's another thing too. Is like I'm still in this future state of like where could this gameplay go?
Yeah.
And I think another interesting thing that this introduces is if every season now, like I don't think that they're going to do this every season, in perpetuity, but if they kept doing stuff like this and you have a lot of idols that people know about in the future, that opens up new gameplay avenues. Like think about the play that Xander did last season where people clearly knew he had an idol and they did the fake handoff so that Chanel voted for the wrong person. Like you
that
could be
was
doing
really
other stuff
that was
like
really amazing. Like that was amazing, and it was really cool.
I know, but I think you could do more stuff like that. Like I think
sure.
That was only
that's not
because of
impossible.
the introduction of the ancillary. What was it called? Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Which, by the
that's
way,
only
it
because
was
that
the
piece
knowledge
was
power.
also added.
But you could still do stuff like that where you're like, oh, they have the idol, or I'm gonna play it for them because I have one, and then it messes up your vote. Like there's
You can
stuff
say
like
you
that.
can say Xander's
Force
game
people to
was
split.
ruined by the phrase advantage last season. Xander's game was completely ruined by this.
Yeah. Can I make a point real quick? So, Kale, like one modification that you are saying is not great, but is completely based on individuals' decisions, not production, not the actual saying the phrases, not anything, completely on the individual's decision making, is that Marianne and Drea could have since they found the beware advantage, they haven't had to go to tribal once. They could have not told anybody and had it have no consequence. And
But
they
you're
could have
still
done
saying
exactly
these
what Mike
dumbass
was
phrases
thinking.
time and time again.
Wait. They don't have to say the phrases though. We know that they don't have to say the phrases.
How are you operating with no vote though? How are you going around stealthy without operating with no vote?
I'm saying that you don't have to, before you go to tribal, preemptively say that if we go to tribal, I don't have a vote. You could keep it to yourself until you have to go to tribal and people start counting you as a number.
So you're going to operate within the margins there. You're going to operate. Then you're not going to talk gameplay and strategy unless it's post immunity challenge.
I'm trying to create a realistic world in which the qualms that you have don't apply.
I don't think there is one.
I'm trying to tell you, it's a world where the beware advantages exist. They have the same risk, right? You don't have to say them out loud, which is exactly what we have right now. And you don't have to tell other people about it. Marianne and Drea could have told nobody about this and made it to the merge next episode with fully fledged idols and their vote. And
Marianne's had this for 3 episodes.
I know, and they haven't been to tribal. But I'm just saying that you don't have to tell people right away that you have this problem.
So you can wait. But that's my point. You sit there and you stew in the fact that you have no vote, and you just say, "Okay, I'm just going to wait till maybe we see if we lose the immunity challenge."
That's what I was saying. That's
what I'm trying to say.
That is horrible gameplay. How is that just horrible?
According to you, that's actually the most optimal way to do it right now, because otherwise your whole game is ruined. That's what you're claiming.
I'm saying that the whole thing is stupid. It's
you're
ruining
saying that
Survivor. That's what I'm saying that it's doing.
And we're trying to come up with solutions. Like, if you were in a game, because you don't get to choose what advantages you get when you go play Survivor.
Of course not.
Kale.
But I'm saying that they should not bring this back ever again. Is my point.
Okay, point made, point heard. Now let's move on.
Do you agree or disagree?
Yes. No, I disagree.
I think there are interesting things with this idol. Kale.
Yeah, there's still things that can be fleshed out.
But your point is heard, Kale. Now let's move forward and say, well, if you're in a season where you have this thing, because you don't get to fucking choose, what the fuck are you doing when you find it, Kale?
Yeah.
I'm not doing what you're advocating for. I'm just going about it.
So you're just going to ruin your game. That's what you're saying right now.
I would get rid of it. I wouldn't want to be the one with the idol. I would get rid of it.
Okay. Well, I don't even want to hear you flesh out that strategy, but
wow.
but really,
I
really quick.
Hear, yeah, go ahead.
So, sorry, really quick. I just want to say that you put forward a stance that it is bad on production, and production is introducing this thing that individuals cannot circumvent. There's no way. It's just bad no matter what. These beware advantages. Right. I propose to you a situation where individuals can make decisions that circumvent that exact problem, and you are saying still that it's horrible.
Which could complete detriment to their game.
Okay,
because you're not
as long as we're all on the same page.
What?
I said as long as we're all on the same page. Like, you understand what I'm saying. Like, you get what I'm saying.
What you're saying,
but you disagree.
But they're not talking strategy before immunity challenge. That's crazy. You're operating within the margin. So I can only
What do you mean?
He's saying that they can't really talk strategy because she's not a number or he's not a number before the immunity challenge.
You can still talk strategy and in your head calculate, what is actually the best if I don't have my vote here?
But then you can't lead on to other people that they need to be operating under the assumption that there's one last number.
They don't need to know that. They don't need to know that until after the immunity challenge is lost.
But that's what I'm talking about. You have to realize that there's such little time after immunity challenges.
Once you lose the immunity challenge, you have this time to talk, and now you can say,
not that much time.
Hey, I just found this fucking thing.
Not that much time.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's not productive. Yeah, it's not production as like a horrible thing. I'm saying that there's interesting ways for players to get around these problems that you're putting forward, right?
Yeah, it's not an unsolvable problem.
Maybe we're at an impasse here, and I can see that maybe that's your thought process, and I don't think that you're necessarily wrong. I think that it definitely has drawbacks and it has flaws, but I don't think that we've seen the full array of how players can adapt to it. Is what I'm saying. Really, there's ways to get around it that are clever. Mike and Daniel strategized something that we didn't have last season, where Mike almost didn't say anything. He almost made that decision not to say anything. And had he not made that decision, he would have gone into the merge, which we now know after viewing the end of the episode is next episode. Who knows what happens with the whole hourglass, but he could have actually done that thing that we're talking about, right? If that were the case, right, he's been to tribal a couple of times, but I keep trying to put forward, Marianne hasn't had to strategize about this, nor has Drea. So if they just risked it and not said anything, which they could have done, nobody would know.
I know, in an ideal world. But listen.
Yes, okay. Well, that's it.
That's what we're talking about. We're talking about
that's it.
How could in an ideal world circumvent this?
Then we're there.
But you're not listening. You're just
we are listening.
It's
I think Kale,
it's
the
a thing that's
right
never it's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen.
I think I think that.
All right. Well, let me pose this
yeah,
then,
sorry.
because
Yeah.
obviously we're not making any progress on this argument.
Yeah,
here. Kale, let me pose this. I want to pose a way that maybe you could change this idol or this advantage that maybe you wouldn't hate as much. So let's see how you feel about this then, because I do like the phrases. I think they're fun. I think it's a fun little TV moment. It's entertaining that people have to try to work this into a sentence. What if you don't lose your vote unless you say the phrase and not all three are said?
I like that adaptation. As an adaptation.
Yeah. Like you keep your vote, and then if you
Correct.
say the phrase and not all three say them, then you lose your vote. And
Yeah.
that's the risk.
That's only
But you
targeting.
don't get it at merge. You can't get it at merge if you do it like that.
Yeah, what that would incentivize is the people who truly know that they are on the bottom and they're not in need of an idol, at the final 7. They're in need of
Yeah.
an idol right now,
Yeah,
those are the people that are going to say they're going to say their thing.
It's rolling your dice.
Correct. I mean, it's
Or
interesting.
putting your dice in a bag, as
Yeah,
it were.
but
Listen,
Yeah.
the reason why I take this stance, I think we can all say Survivor's most ingenious invention was the hidden immunity idol in the history of their game. Yes or
yeah,
no?
but yes,
No,
but
hold on. Let me finish.
okay.
Let me finish.
sure.
Can we agree that that's their most ingenious
I just said
invention?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just said yes.
So we just went through a season that not one was played to any value. Not one
Okay.
idol was played at all with any value. Xander's does not count because he wasn't even being voted against. And then 2 people got voted out with the idols. So the reason that was happening the way it did is that everybody knew where every idol stood. So when you're relinquishing the secrecy of idols because you go about the idol process in a completely cock-a-doodle way.
Your point is taken. I understand your point. I get it. What I would say as a counter argument is that you're talking about idols being the most ingenious thing that Survivor has introduced. They didn't just come to the idol that we have today right away. There was an idol that was introduced in Guatemala in season 11 where you would play it before the votes were even cast.
Correct.
Which was basically like an individual immunity necklace where people just wouldn't cast their vote for you. It wouldn't negate any votes. It wasn't really that there wasn't that much wiggle room. Then season 12 we have Panama Exile Island where there's the super idol, right? That can get played up until the final 3 where you can play it after the votes are read. And then Yule has that same exact idol the next time played up until the final 4. So that's 3 seasons in a row where they have this idea and they're tweaking it as they go. So now here we are in the second iteration of the exact thing that you're telling us is horrible, but we already see that there are some tweaks being made. So why can't we just let this fucking run its course, right? Like why don't we just give it a chance?
You're talking about you're talking about tweaks on the margin which have made it not any better in the slightest, in my opinion.
I don't know if that analogy doesn't hit. I can't come to the table with anything better.
Yeah. I think what we could say is if they do keep it, we hope that there are some changes that are made
Correct.
to make it a little bit more
we
exciting.
can all-
I think we can all
pray-
agree on
I
that.
We can all
pray
agree
that they do not
We
keep
can all
it.
agree on that.
I pray they
And
do
Kale
not.
wants it gone. But if they do keep it, Kale wants it
pray
exactly the same. That's what he's
Kale,
saying.
what do you want to talk about next, huh? Let's go.
All right, let's keep moving.
I'll say one thing. Power player Drea, the queen.
Oh, yeah.
The queen she is. Racking up all the tools in the shed. All the tools
Now,
in the shed.
Kale, I want to immediately burst a little bit of the Drea bubble here. In her confessional, she's going, yeah, women can find the idols. We got it. But Romeo was the one who told her to look for the idol. She's bragging like it was her idea.
No, I think that was just an edit standpoint. Again, Drea's been going balls to the wall since day one.
Dude, he literally said to her in the thing, you want to go look for idols?
You still have the belief that Romeo's the one leading the duo there?
I think he's in a better position out of the duo.
No.
So let me just.
We'll see who lasts longer.
Yeah. Let me just say, Kale.
We will. I'm down. I'm
I
down.
know.
Well, oh, wait. What did we vote on last week?
What did we bet on, you mean?
Yeah. I'm sorry. What did you guys
I
bet
think
on?
me and Toast
It's a
had a
Roxroy
bet.
Tory, right?
It's
Yeah.
Roxroy Tory.
Yeah. Ika killed it. In
You
the
might as well
video
just send me the buff, I guess. It's okay. Well, no, we'll get to that point. But regardless, I wanted to say, Kale.
I'll make the Romeo
you're-
Drea bet with you, Kale. Happy to.
I'm down for that too. Another one?
I'm gonna have 2 buffs.
So wait, really quick, Kale. I give Drea a lot of grief, and I give you grief too. But she is in a very, she is rich. She's Survivor rich, like she said.
is rich.
She has the most
Hashtag
advantages.
that.
She has she's really taken on the most advantage. Like last season, we were kind of impressed with Shan, how many advantages she had accrued, and how she was able to use them in the pre-merge so elegantly. To manipulate people and blindside people and give the vote to Ricard and take it back and all of these really flashy moves really early on in the game. Drea has more advantages than Shan had in the whole game. I mean, because the amulet advantage wasn't something that Shan could have had, but she has the amulet advantage. She has the beware advantage that really had no beware aspect to it. I mean, she didn't even read the word beware. She just saw the word advantage, which we know is Drea. She said, "You have no vote," and she kept reading, and Romy was like, "Whoa, like that part actually matters, Like Romy was like, "Go back." Like,
No. What's the advantage?
extra vote, amulet advantage, beware advantage, where there was no real beware. She got the rewards of the advantage right away. Right, the first time she says the thing, she has it. No vote risk, no nothing. She's in a very powerful position if you look at strictly currency. Right. Unfortunately, I still have the stance that all of these things will go to her head. And the result of that is that she probably will she's very likely to go home with some of these advantages in her pocket. Is what I think.
That's what the beware advantage sets up. 7 other people know that she has that idol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up to her now to play it at the right time.
Well, it's nice. It's almost not even about that. And one of the things that I even hate the beware advantage even more this season is that it's going to take away from this amulet advantage. It gets in the way of how this whole thing can be dissected about Lindsay versus High versus Drea. We were really excited to see how it boiled down, but all the hubbub that with all focused on all the people that have idols probably is going to be put flashlight on first, right? So
I think it could introduce an interesting, dynamic in the show too, where you've got this overcurrent of excitement about, there's all these idols playing, and then
the three of them
beneath
have a
the
secret.
shadows, the 3 of them are sneakily going after each other. So I think there could be some interesting plays. I am excited to see how that stuff plays out. Because honestly, I'm gonna be totally honest. Forgot about the amulet advantage until right now. No one's talked about it in this show. Everyone's just sitting on it.
That's what I said. I mean, I said it before. It's a set it and forget it advantage. We don't have to worry about it until the merge. I guarantee you, we will be talking about the amulet next week. I guarantee you.
I hope so.
No, no. I think that I don't. That's what I'm talking about. The beware advantage we're going to be talking about next week. That's more of a guarantee we'll be talking about that.
Well, also next week, let's be clear. I mean, it seems like it's not going to be the normal, the whole episode. It's not even really going to be any merged tribes. It's going to be like the split and then the flip and then the competition.
Well, we don't know.
We're not going to see merge for 2 weeks.
Essentially. Well, we're hoping that they tweak this too. So maybe it's the case that they aren't actually merged.
I'm operating that they're not.
Okay.
I'm operating.
I hope they make the hourglass at least a little bit more balanced, because last time it was just the absolute mortal lock that thing.
Yeah,
was
I mean, I
smashed.
think an easy fix to that is that the person who ends up on exile automatically has immunity, so their skin is not in the game, but they do have the chance to curry favor with a select group of people, or put another group of people down. Right? If Erica
or is it
last season
that they don't get immunity, but they can flip everybody else.
No, but that's what it was last season, right? Erica was
last time she didn't have immunity, and then she got immunity by smashing it.
Yeah, I guess it makes more sense.
Is it just you stay in the position that you're at?
Yeah, you're good. Like you can even have it so that
should they be good or should they be bad?
They should be good because they're punished by not being able to operate within the bounds of the game as people are merging. Like Erica was on exile while people were forming relationships. Which is a huge detriment, obviously, right? But that would be one way, just because we're coming up with little tricks here to get around things, where the person doesn't have an individual incentive of survival in the balance. If Erica was told you can get immunity or non-immunity, she was smashing that immunity.
It didn't matter.
Got it. Like it was like the most anticlimactic thing when they revealed it because it was so clear. But just another example of how to tweak things. But yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the decisions.
You guys don't have a problem with all of this stuff that you're talking about needs tweaks?
No, but that's the point of the game, right? Like it's a work in progress. Like they're not going to get it right every time right away. like I said about
that
idol.
was your analogy earlier. I understand that.
Yeah, yeah.
I understand that.
So
And
let's
these were filmed back to back. But I think from a production standpoint, right now, I think it's been a pretty good season. They can get in trouble if all these different advantages, specifically with next week's thing, it just muddies the water too much. That's how I view it.
Yeah, no,
see.
I agree. I think
see.
Toast and I are just trying to be constructive about, what could possibly go right with these things instead of just saying they suck the whole time. You know what I mean?
I just
Kel,
want the game.
last week you were saying
real
this is
Debbie
on
Downer
track
over
to
here.
being the best season, top 10 season, and now all of a sudden because everyone did the thing that
End
we
of the
knew that they
world.
were going to do, it's over. We knew that this was here.
I honestly
You knew it was coming.
put blinders up to it. I put blinders up to it, and it pissed
Well,
me
now
off.
you have to
I
pay
really don't
attention
like
because
this
it's
thing.
here.
I know
Yeah,
it's
I
here,
get it.
and
I get it.
I
I get
hate it. I did mention last week that, like I said, with no idol play of any significance last season, it really hurt the
Yeah.
season as a whole.
Yeah. Okay. Where are we at?
All right. And then we want to quickly talk about Shipwheel Island here before we hop into the Vati pre-tribal and the Vati tribal stuff that we're going to be talking about. Shipwheel Island, Roxroy and Lydia get sent. I almost forgot her name there. Jeez.
Your winner wasn't that your winner pick?
We never get. She was not my winner pick. Let's be clear. I put her in my top 3 to make you guys upset.
Who was your guys' winner pick?
We'll talk about it later.
I forgot. What was it? Was his name Jackson? Was he the one that went on
I
first?
think it might. Yeah,
Jackson did not get voted out. No, I'll
Okay.
hang my hat on that.
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
says
yeah.
he did.
We'll call
Jeff
that
says he
we'll
did.
call that a win for Jackson.
I'll talk about Shipwheel with Lydia and Roxroy. I'll touch upon this at the end because I do want to hear, going into this pseudo merge or whatever this is going to be, I do want to hear where your guys' stance is on a group of who can win versus who can't. Lydia and Roxroy, I think, just were put on full display that they don't have the social characteristics that are really necessary in this game. I mean, they're both playing ping pong off of each other to try to put the feelers out. They really can't get underneath. I don't really know if this is a good phrase, but get underneath the other person's skin to really know what they're thinking. They're touch and go. It's really awkward, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a testament to both of them lacking severe social skills in this game. And I don't think they're long players for the game. I know that's probably evident, and that doesn't need to be said. But I don't think either of them are along for the game at all.
Mm-hmm.
I want to start this off with I agree with you.
Yes.
But-
Let's make that clear.
But yeah, I don't want any outbursts from Kale's side over there. But I think even if you are a good social player, getting Roxroy to be like not weird is a Herculean task. Like I think that that this interaction makes Lydia look worse. I agree that she's not doing great socially. I mean, I think she actually could be doing fine. I mean, if she pulls, a switch after the merge, that would be like the play of the century. I mean, she's just, floating along and getting pulled along. But Roxroy, what are you doing if you're with Roxroy on that island? Like, how are you getting him to like you unless you're Swati, who's no longer with us?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Swati and Lydia are around the same age, no?
Yeah.
I mean, they're two different people.
It's oil and water in this case, and it's not because they're not polar opposites from one another. They're just not interfacing, the two of them. And they're both very much focused on their primary alliances back home. They want to protect the tribe. So Lydia is having this conversation with Roxroy, and in her head she's thinking hi, hi, hi the whole time. She's just thinking about hi, and she doesn't want to divulge any information that would maybe affect her tribe. Roxroy is also playing passively and defensively and also trying to withhold information. Neither of them are acting autonomously, trying to create an advantage that they would have over the people in their tribe, right? That this whole thing is a chance to have an interaction that other people don't get, right?
Yes.
But they're so passive and they're so not interfacing in this moment. And then, obviously that passiveness carries through to this next phase where they basically were like, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. Let's just protect. And it's like Lydia obviously made the right decision here, but Roxroy, what I don't understand what's going through his head. Like,
yeah, she even said
his
to him,
reasoning is
lying,
horrible.
but said to him hey, I'm at the bottom. It's like,
which would make him risk it more, most likely, right? If he were thinking that she needed her vote, which she did, and she was smart to keep it, but they were just not connecting. And honestly, it sucks because if you had to pick two people to go to this thing together, you think Jeff is happy that these are the two that got picked, because they really could not connect. I think you draw randomly any other two people, and there might be
more interesting
some
than
sparks,
that combo.
you know? Yeah. So sorry, I've been rambling a little bit, but in the interest of talking about tweaks, this was the Shipwheel Island last season, where the Shipwheel vote turn was not for protect your vote, steal a vote. It was for the knowledge is power advantage, right? Shan and Liana went on this one right before the merge, and Liana was given the knowledge is power advantage. We didn't get that this episode, right? We got more of the same. So that's a tweak that was introduced that was pretty subtle. People, I mean, at least me, I was like, oh, this is it. Knowledge is power. Is it coming back? And nope, it said, protect your vote, risk your vote.
Normal.
So, Kale, that's another check and balance against what you're worried about. Where
I understand that, but
Yeah.
again, Survivor went into the whole restructuring here to purify the game again. They could have just done away with Shipwheel Island in this episode. There's no reason to do it again. You don't need to do it every episode. They didn't do it every episode.
I agree, especially because they both protected their vote too. It's like, God, how can
No,
these
I
two...
understand that. Now it's just a product of what happened.
I think a little bit of this though, they can't predict. You know what I mean? Like
Of course.
They don't know who's going to get sent. So it's like it could have had big consequences depending on who got sent.
Of course, but they don't.
So you can't
My
just cut
point
it
is
out
that they don't need to
retrospectively.
force feed advantages specifically when they're bad advantages. That's my point.
Well, 2 points are, one, at least now we've seen every iteration of Shipwheel that there is, right? We have two people risking, two people protecting, and then obviously the breakdown between people risking and other people protecting. So we've sort of maxed out on Shipwheel, all of the possibilities, all the iterations. We didn't get the same thing that Brad, Tiffany, and Cindy went on last year with that summit and the tarp, and it was like, so I couldn't, if you had a gun to my head right now, I could not tell you what the instructions were. You get a tarp, you don't get a vote, you don't get this. Like, that was like nonsense. And then they all went home relatively early.
So complicated.
We didn't get that. Shipwheel we have some sort of fluency with at this point, that we're like, okay, we know the motions, like, will they protect, will they risk? So that's the first point. We've seen everything, so it probably will continue to get more stale, I guess, over time.
Talking about seeing everything. Can Omar not vote next week?
No, he can't vote.
Yeah. See, so.
But Marion has an extra vote.
What'd you say?
But his main, one of his biggest allies.
Am I really dumb? Why can't Omar vote next week?
Omar lost his vote.
They both
when
risked.
Chanel lost her vote.
Oh, because I forgot that hasn't come up yet.
Yeah. And unless Chanel tells him, he probably confidently thinks he does have an extra vote, because it was so clear that Chanel should have protected.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that could. They probably hashed that out.
That could be part of the reason why he's like so upset with this little spat that's happening over in Taku, because he's like, we got to stay strong,
cohesive,
just
of course,
in case I lose my stuff next week.
Well, listen, he's got Marianne on one side with a bunch of advantages, and then he's got the meat shield Jonathan, and then a pretty sturdy player in Lindsay. He's got a full-fledged shield all up in front of him. So again, Omar's in great position if those four can stay together.
Let me just make one final point about Shipwheel, just so I can get my thoughts out clearly, because I feel like I might not have been, fully coherent. The knowledge is power was not effective last season. It should have very well been effective, but Xander and Evie and Tiffany had this, big brained idea that really worked out, right? It should have been effective, and it wasn't. But everyone has this criticism that how could you introduce something where you need to know where everything is in the game, and then also have everybody out loud say that they have something, right? Those two things can't exist in the same realm, right? Where everyone has to be very forthright with what they have, and someone can actually just take what you have if they know, right? So here we don't have that problem, it seems. And maybe it'll come up next week, but we don't have that problem.
I'd happily swap the Beware advantage for a Knowledge of Power. I think a Knowledge of Power in a normal season with just normal hidden immunity idols could actually be really fun. I think that could be a good time.
Yeah, that people don't know about the idols?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you didn't have that, I think
my gosh, yes.
But Kale, that's what we're saying. They kind of fixed it this time around, it seems.
Well,
According to
talked
Kale,
about.
they picked the wrong one.
Yes,
Yeah, they picked the wrong
exactly.
one.
They picked the wrong.
I get
complete
it.
wrong
I get it.
direction.
That's fair.
Sim
That's
just
fair.
said knowledge is
No,
power
yeah.
with regular is way better. Yes, I
But,
agree
yeah,
with that.
I think so too. But yeah, I think so too. But
All right, so let's get to the end of this episode. We're going to talk about the Vati pre-tribal as well as the tribal. We've got Mike and Hai and Lydia kind of deciding on who they want to vote for here. You know, is it Chanel? Is it Daniel? They clearly don't trust either one of them, and kind of making this decision here. And then ultimately we see, you know, Daniel go home after a little bit of a weird vote where people were kind of flip-flopping on who they were actually going to vote for. We had some weird outcomes. Toast, I'll toss it to you first. You know, what are your thoughts on what happened here with Vati?
yeah, I mean, so I think tribal was really interesting. I thought Daniel actually presented himself actually pretty well. I think as well as he could have in that moment. He did come off as very calm, and Chanel points out that it is gameplay, but even though it is gameplay, it didn't have an air to it that it was gameplay, which is good, I guess. I mean, obviously, who cares, right? He goes home, but I'm saying, like, she was reserved and he was, you know, outspoken, which is usually this dynamic, right?
Yeah,
And
with
he's
this
lost
weird
every
double mic comment.
but he's also lost every time where he speaks first, right? Which is a point that we've mentioned, right? Where he like wants to take the, you know, the spotlight, and he loses every time he does that. So this sort of happened again this time. But what's interesting is I think I might have, you know, thought myself into a loop because I thought Daniel was way too obvious, and I thought that Hai would be the one dictating what happens here. And I thought Hai is very much against Chanel in the sense that Chanel is less predictable than Daniel. I think that Hai actually, I think that they made the wrong choice because
agree.
Hai
No, I think they had two bad
has
choices.
control over Daniel to some extent, and Chanel is a bit of a wild card still.
I think I
ahead.
agree with you, Toast, specifically because Daniel, at least from the edit's view, is way easier to read. You know what I mean? Like he's bad at these moments where he has to improvise something new. Like if he doesn't have a plan, like he's lost. Like I'd much rather have a guy like that who I can be like, oh, he's clearly lying to me right now. Than
He's predictable.
than Chanel. And what I wanted to mention, Toast, is if I'm Daniel, I don't think Daniel had the self-awareness to do something like this in the first place. But if I'm Daniel and I'm trying to convince them between me and Chanel, my argument isn't I'm the better choice. It's I'm the worst player.
Like what that was his angle.
Was that his angle though?
Yeah,
I think his angle was
said
just
it
like
5
I'm with
times.
you. I'm
He's
with
been
you.
saying it all season. I'm a terrible player. I'm never going to win this game. He said it again tonight.
Well, yeah, he's also saying like you will get burned in Survivor. The people that are able to adapt from being burned, right, are able to last long in the game. Like, don't hold a grudge against me. And also, like, I can actually change this around. Like, you have to be able to understand that I can adapt and change. I think he probably should have argued that, you know, better to have the devil you know than the devil you don't know. Because Chanel hasn't voted yet, right? So we don't even...
She has no actions to her name.
Correct. And there is this like cloud over her where Daniel brings her up, says, what should I be doing? I'm voting on the behalf of you. So obviously that's the reason why Hai is skeptical of her to begin with. So, and Lydia too, right? But you know, when I say Hai, I mean Lydia too. But you know, like I don't know. I guess that's the point. Like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't, and we see that kind of play out.
To me, it was two bad choices. Both of them were jumping ship when it came to the merge. It didn't really matter. Honestly, you're cutting you vote out Daniel, who could maybe show you a little bit of facet that he might come back to you, and then ultimately he will flip flop. Then you keep on Chanel, which you know won't be a number from the jump, and she'll just go. So really, to me, it didn't really matter.
I see what you're saying, Kale. So like Chanel is actually the more predictable because you know she's going to flip instantaneously, whereas Daniel's still going to try to play you like you're on a thing, and you're like, well, I'm not sure.
Listen, they played up. I thought it was definitely Daniel from the jump because they played up the whole thing that Daniel's saying, "Oh, my arm hurts."
The shoulder thing,
but he's going into the water, not giving a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's going into the water, not giving a fuck. So again, Daniel, as much as you want to say, yes, he was really predictable from the standpoint of, you know, you can see when he got flustered. But at the same time, he was not trustworthy. Chanel's not trustworthy either. I agree with you there. But you just cut bait. You don't keep on someone like Daniel that you might be able to get roped back into. That's my point. Either way, it's not a great decision. I think you're kind of just screwed either way, and that's what I talked about at the beginning of this of the podcast here. That I cannot wait because there's parties on almost all these tribes that are ready to flip flop and go game. I love this. They were kind of left with just bad choices.
Now I'm kind of flipping, Kale. Where if you just make the assumption now that you're losing Daniel at the merge, I'd almost rather have him because he's gonna go fuck up somebody else's alliance other than mine. You know what I mean? He's gonna go mess up some other plan. Although Chanel was the one to really mess up the plan. 2 episodes.
Chanel has been far less predictable. She's actually managed at this point to burn every single person on her tribe. I mean, they kind of both did though. They both burned everybody on their tribe.
Yes.
Not really. Because
100%.
Daniel has not burned Mike in any way.
What are you talking about? He completely burned Mike.
No,
he didn't vote with him. He didn't hold steadfast.
But in that instance, he was actually sort of protecting Mike because he, as well as Mike, as well as Chanel, would have had to have drawn rocks.
I don't think Mike read it like that, though. Mike read it
understand.
You voted out my closest ally.
Well, but I'm saying now, at the end of this episode, once we realize how the votes shook out, right? Chanel has burned every single person. She hasn't had a vote, but she dictated that Daniel vote for Lydia.
Also burnt every person. That's my point. Is that they were both the same.
Okay, all right. I mean, I guess, but I think Chanel.
Let's break down these votes because we had a 2-2-1 vote, 2 for Daniel, 2 for Chanel, and 1 for Mike. Who voted for
Chanel?
For who here?
Chanel voted for Mike.
Now, why? I don't understand why she did that.
Pick me.
Toast, I pick you. Why did she do that? Explain that to me.
So the way that this makes sense, this logic is if you believe as Chanel that everybody is telling you the truth that Daniel is their vote, right? Which everybody is telling Daniel Chanel is the vote. But if you truly believe as Chanel that they're voting for Daniel, then you can assume that Daniel, right,
is voting for you.
Could vote for you. But if Daniel isn't as confident as you are, Daniel could play the shot in the dark. So Daniel loses his vote and plays the shot in the dark. Now all 3 votes from Mike, Lydia, and Hai go to Daniel, but he's now immune.
And it doesn't matter.
So Chanel, instead of wasting her vote on Daniel, votes for Mike in the case that we don't want another revote because Chanel knows that she would be the next person to pick.
Then she's out. I see. That actually that's a +1 in the Chanel column.
For sure,
honestly.
for sure. She thought out.
I don't know
well.
that I would have worked that out, to be honest with you.
I don't think so. I mean, in the moment, it's tough, but I mean, I understood it after seeing that it was her. We kind of deduced. We're like, who voted? And we were like, it has to be Chanel. That's the only thing that makes sense. But I don't know if I agree with the person that she picked. I feel like this whole time she
Mike
has the ability.
100%. It was a horrible choice.
She could have just threw one vote at Hai and Hai would be out. Or Lydia.
Hai's such a good player. Like I'd love to get him out of the
Chanel
game.
actually has this foundation with Mike. And Kale, you've been saying this over and over again that they have some sort of connection.
Well,
Why
I think it was
would
evident
Chanel
today. Look at the little duos on the beach.
Why would Chanel throw Mike under the bus here with this? Because now she has to answer for this. She can say maybe Daniel wrote that vote for Mike, that rogue vote. But I don't know if it's gonna. She has to come up with a really good reason.
She can't.
You gotta say Daniel though.
Why?
Because Lydia and Hai, who voted for Daniel, the 2 votes for Daniel, just say we voted for Daniel.
Oh yeah, and then
so she didn't vote for herself. She can't. Yeah, she can't even defend that.
Yeah, so it's coming out, But it's coming out. But
she's flipping at the merge anyways. We knew that anyways.
Well, no, I don't think so necessarily. I don't think that was like set in stone. It didn't have to be
that case, but she's almost painted herself into a corner by doing this small thing. It was unnecessary.
This is the point that I was trying to make, where she burns everybody here. Because, like I said last week when we were talking about her saying out loud that Daniel told her about Mike's idol, she said that publicly and threw Mike under the bus in the process. Although unintentionally, inadvertently, whatever you want to say, she threw Mike under the bus. Here, she has the ability to throw that one rogue vote that is inconsequential in this case anyway, to someone other than Mike. But instead, she throws it on Mike. Because I feel like Mike is someone that she can actually rebuild trust with. She hasn't voted for Jenny. She hasn't voted for Mike. She hasn't burnt them.
100%.
And then she does.
And they do have a pure connection. Like, that's the one thing that Daniel lacked, is that Daniel was crazy. And, like, I don't really know if people were getting down on a personal level. It was clear when they had those duos sitting on the beach watching Daniel go flaunt the fact that he could swim.
Everybody
It
was
was
like,
Chanel.
"What?"
It was Chanel and Mike goofing around on one side, and Lydia and Hy goofing around on the other side. So yeah, I'm with you. I thought it was a rogue move that was unnecessary, and I'm with all that. But when it came down to this vote, from an edit standpoint too, I think we got Daniel's character pretty fleshed out here in this pre-merge. I still think Chanel's kind of
he's a good pre-merge character. You know, like he got a story.
Yeah, he was a fun guy to watch for sure. Well, unfortunately, Toast and I's number one preseason cast prediction for our winner pick, unfortunately, is officially gone.
He was a risk anyway. He was a risk.
Brutal. Your guys got winner pick.
You know what though? Toast and I's our points on the preseason cast predictions was we were excited to see him play. We were excited to see what he has. Now he was the opposite of what we wanted. We thought he'd be fun to watch because we thought he'd be really smart. Turns out, not that smart of a guy.
Well, maybe smart in law school, but not
he could certainly
smart
be
here.
book smart. He's not
Exactly.
Survivor smart.
He's not Survivor smart.
I think we can all agree upon that.
We
And
can
unfortunately, he went home for it. Let's get into the stock report here. Kale, I'll toss it to you first. Who's rising? Who's falling this week?
I'll pretend to be Kale real quick. Drea. Did I nail it?
No. Just wait until we pick who our potential winners are going into this merge. Then Drea's coming out. Let's hear what he has to say here, though.
I'll keep this short and sweet. I actually don't think Drea getting the Beware advantage and having that piece, because like I said, I don't think that this is beneficial for anybody that actually has the idols.
There it is. That's Kale's asterisk now if Drea doesn't do well. She's got the Beware. It ruined her game.
Jackson didn't get voted.
My big takeaway, other than his horrible immunity performance, it was pathetic. Omar's pathetic immunity challenge performance.
That was brutal.
Something
he's never seen a braid before in his life.
He looked tired.
I honestly thought he was throwing the challenge at one point. I honestly thought he was throwing the challenge.
To get rid of Marianne?
No, I don't know. I don't even know. I have no.
It seemed like he was throwing.
It did seem like he was throwing a little bit.
The compared and contrast to him and Jonathan, it was shown when they were talking about Taku, and he was able to stay even keel throughout that whole process when Jonathan was losing his mind, saying even though he was saying he couldn't lose his mind, he still was losing his mind. Omar stayed pretty sane throughout the whole process, and that's what you need in a game of Survivor. You need to deal with different types of characters that are from all different walks of life. So I do. Omar's up on my stock report today. Down on my stock report today is another down day for our man Rocktroy. I mean, it's just
he just keeps falling. It's that rock rolling down the hill.
It's not great.
Pun intended.
It's really not great.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's beginning to realize it too.
Hey, maybe if he figures out enough, he could turn it around. I'd love that for him. I don't see it. I don't foresee it in his future, but we'll see. Toast, your stock report. What are you looking at this week?
So I guess I would never really say that Jonathan is going down, but I do want to just point out a few things that happened that I thought, while they were funny for us as the viewer, like watching him deal with these interactions, and Kale, you've touched on this a little bit, he is like very, even if he's not saying it out loud, which is what he's trying to do, trying to refrain from doing, his behavior is showing his annoyed nature, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like with, Marianne and the foot thing, and then the girls chatting, like he just like walked off, like that still sends a signal, even if it's nonverbal, right? So Jonathan is, and then, he's sort of like a hold my beer kind of guy, like let me just do this, And in instances where Omar is struggling with this puzzle, Jonathan is pacing back and forth, and he's like,
like leaning against the wall, like, oh God.
He's showing his frustration outwardly.
He was being way too emotional. Too emotional there.
So in the instance where he can't do the thing that he wants to do, he's going to struggle because he can't lose patience, and his little out is to say, as long as I don't say anything out loud, which is what he thinks is the correct thing to do. But you also are giving a lot of tells off by moving around, acting impatiently, stomping your feet, so just something to be aware of, but not enough to put him going down. I love Jonathan, and he's going up. He's always going up.
No, I think those are
And
valid
then-
points for
yeah. That's fair. I think
downward
I'll
trajectory.
I'll put Drea on my up. I'll put Drea on my up. I'll do it.
Wow.
I'll-
Well, she just
yeah,
got
she's-
so much more cash now.
She's got so much more cash.
Rich.
She incurred no penalty to herself, even though that was, luck of the draw, sort of. She didn't even care if she were to incur a penalty of not having to risk her vote or not having to cast a vote, not having the ability to cast a vote. But either way, she did well. She found an idol. She's going in with the most armor,
Yeah.
right? The tribe numbers are even. She's losing Tori probably, but other people are losing other people too. We might have 4 tribes of 3 with one outcast
That
from
would
each
be
of the
nuts.
3 tribes.
That would be
But
nuts.
regardless-
the no friends friend group.
Exactly.
As we like to call it.
As we like to call it. But she had a good episode, so I'll give her that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you guys are talking about. Just one I like to add is Romeo's still playing a great game.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, so in saying that, Sim, I'll give
He'll ask again.
my three top players that I think are along for the win here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Omar, I think it's High, and I think it's Drea. I do think Drea is going to be in trouble here. I really do think that she's really good at this game, but I think she's going to fall victim to this Beware advantage. That's something that Omar and High don't necessarily
He
have
is
to deal
just
with.
sowing the seeds. He is laying this down.
I know. So that when she goes out, I wasn't talking about the
unbelievable.
whole season.
I love that this is recorded finally, where we would have had this conversation,
know,
and now I have
I
to be
know.
like, Kale, you remember when you said this? He'd be like, well, I also said that the Beware
I'm
would
going
be
to
the
edit
thing.
in old clips so we can hear
Exactly.
your voice.
Exactly.
I mean,
Look
we
at
even,
his-
we even
look
got
at
it
his
with the mic
smile
thing.
right now.
Whoever aligns with
Listen.
Mike is going to the end. Jenny, voted out
Jenny first gone.
instantaneously.
No,
Wait,
first
no,
of all,
don't
I
reiterate.
said
Don't
who
reiterate.
made-
We know.
Who
We
made
know.
the merge.
Do not reiterate.
Yeah,
By the way,
Do
Oh,
they
no,
not.
no.
age shamed Mike at Tribal. That was fucked up.
They did.
There's no
116.
there's no room for age shaming.
Kale, I do want to be clear, though. I am going to be editing in your old audio with you talking about it because you did not say the person who makes it with Mike to the merge. Let's be clear about that.
Who aligns with Mike?
That might be
Yeah,
a
you said
Mandela
who-
effect because I believe him when he said that. Simi, you're telling me he
no,
didn't
no,
say
no.
that?
I have never believed him.
I said who aligns
no,
with
no,
Mike.
no. Yeah, no. Okay, but right now, what you're saying is who aligned with Mike by the merge.
No, but I didn't. I'll just tell you this right now. I did not say just who was on day one with Mike off
You
the
said
rip.
the person who aligns with Mike
Tell it to the
is
judge.
making it.
Yeah, but that means for the majority of the game, which is now High.
Kale, we know. Okay.
It's
All right,
fine,
we
Kale.
listen,
You're
know.
always
it's
right.
for
You're
me.
always right.
It's
We
Omar,
know.
High, and Drea. Who
Yeah,
you got?
Kale.
Top
Hey,
three.
Toast. Who are your top three? Who are your top three going into this merge next week? Hopefully.
I think my top 3 contenders
Yeah.
are Omar, Lindsay, High. Not particularly in that order,
Mm.
but those are the top 3. And I mean, all 3 of them, by the way, if I want to be the Kale here, were people that I mentioned in the pregame. It wasn't my number 1. Daniel,
All right, I'm
unfortunately,
going to be
was
looking
my
up a
high
lot
risk.
of audio after this.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up.
I think my top
Google
going
it.
into this merge. I agree with you guys. Omar, I really like. Toast, I agree with you. I really like Lindsay going into this merge. I think she's in a great place. I think she's been playing a good game so far. And just to make Kale mad, it's Romeo. Romeo's
It's
my
not
third
making me
pick.
mad. I actually think he's playing a fine game. I don't. It just comes down to between the two of them who's running the show there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had this whole thing where he said that he was going to lead Drea to the promised land. I think that was a bullshit comment, to be honest with you.
It's this
I agree,
pageant
too.
coach stuff. It's weird. He's a weird
Yeah,
guy. I mean, what do you
But
want?
it's almost like weirdly chauvinistic in like the exact weirdest way possible. Where like he
yeah, it's like
it clearly
she needs a
respects
man
women.
to really lead her.
Yeah, but it's
Where
not.
to go here.
I'm not trying to say that that's his intention, but it does have an air of that to it. Obviously,
yeah.
the whole
I
point
think
of him
it's coming
saying
from a
that
place of
was
respect,
for sure,
you know.
for sure. I don't want that to be misconstrued. But I'm saying if you wanted
Toast,
to
you're
purposely
canceled.
yeah, exactly. No, if you wanted to purposely misconstrue it in that way, you probably could. You could be like, oh, Drea needs me to do this. I'd love to coach her. Like, shut up, man.
I thought it was a bullshit comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
I
one
wrote
thing I
them
do
all.
want to say, though, is I know you guys both have High on your list, and I do think he's playing a great game, but I am a little bit worried about him coming into this merge. Like, I just don't know how strong of an alliance he's coming into this. I know he has Mike, he has Lydia. Who knows what happens with Chanel, but, like, we know Lydia's not helping him with any of this stuff. She seems to be
No,
dragging along.
it's a great point, Sim.
I am a
he
little
likes
worried
it
for
that
him.
way, though. He likes it that way. He's making a point at Tribal to say these are, me and 4 other completely autonomous. They have their own agenda. Lydia does not have her own agenda here. Like, unfortunately, I know that sounds horrible to say, but Lydia is tied at the waist with High. Lydia will do what High says.
No, totally. I mean, she's an auto vote. I think the other thing I want to say too is, although Omar is really high on my list as well, I think Taku has a similar issue, not as bad as what's the tribe last year that never went to tribal? Why am I blanking?
Luvu.
Yeah, Luvu, where he doesn't have a lot of tribal experience going into this. I know they went to one tribal, but it's a little worrying.
It's not as magnified because the other tribes in the last season had gone a bunch. So comparatively, it was like, this is the difference between 1 and 2, right? Whereas the difference between Luvu and Ua was 0 and 4.
Yes,
You know?
but to
Yeah.
Sim's point, pretty straightforward vote when they did go. Then they didn't have to go with Jackson, obviously.
Yeah.
So
he hasn't had the scramble, is what I mean.
Yeah,
I get that.
exactly.
I get that.
So and that's a big part of this game is scramble ability.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see how he plays. I mean, he could be a great scrambler. Who knows? He's played a great game so far. All evidence points to him being very good at this game.
Capable,
So, yeah. So I'm excited to see how it is. But that's going to be it for this week, guys. Thank you for listening. Really appreciate it. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please, rate and review. If you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe.
Smash that like.
Kale with the yell every week with the. We're interested to hear from you guys though, so leave comments. Let us know your guys' take on this. A lot of this stuff we're interested to hear, and other than that, excited for next week, boys, and this merge coming up. We'll see what happens.
2 hours. We'll see.
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited. See you guys.
Peace.